And welcome back. Continuing to work on the right wing. As you can see here, I'm working on the top skin, dimpling the skins so that I can put them in place onto the wing. Now this is the inner top skin, and this is the skin that has the countersunk locations where the doublers are for the walking portion of the wing. Now those holes you want to make sure that you don't dimple, obviously, because you've countersunk them. So you want to make sure that you are cognizant of where those holes are. There are holes that you will dimple that are in the vicinity of those countersunk holes. So just make sure as you're going through that you don't overdo it. Now I'm using the C-frame, and for those who have followed these videos for quite some time, I've spoken to this before. This C-frame dimpler that I have, I actually got from my grandfather-in-law. He built an RV4 probably about 20 years ago, and he lives on a private airfield up in Washington and has his own hangar, and so he's always kept his tools. I started talking to him about a year and a half ago when I first decided I was going to put together an airplane, and he had made mention that he had his tools still and he would donate his tools to me. So I inherited a lot of these tools from him, and it was really awesome to be able to do that. So the C-frame dimpler, it's nice. It's easy to operate, obviously. Things that you have to be careful about is the correct depth on the bottom die. I've run into issues where it was too low as compared to the table that is made, that's sitting around the C-frame, and so it kind of pillows those locations, and so you have to be careful of that. But other than that, it's a great tool, very easy to use. Just using a mallet and kind of a chance to get rid of some aggressions, I guess. So anyway, so here's the outer top skin. You see me putting a brake on the trailing edge here. You also put a brake on the inner portion of the top skin where it overlaps the inner top skin. And I like to use that tool that you saw me using there instead of the rollers. I have both, and I've used the roller tool to make the brake, and it doesn't quite break the skins as much as I like. So I've had a lot of good luck or good results from the tool that I had there. As far as all the seams come out really nice. There's no pillowing, and so that's what I tend to use. Now here, going in and dimpling all of the flanges for the ribs, the top side of each of these ribs. Now, the instructions specifically tell you when you're putting the ribs onto the spar to only dimple the bottom side of the skins. And I'm not exactly sure why. It seems to me that there isn't a reason as to why you couldn't dimple them and still do everything that I've done to this point. It just, for whatever reason, it calls it out as only doing the bottom sides of each of those ribs. So looking back, I think that it probably wouldn't be a problem at all if you dimpled all of those flanges, but that's just what the instructions call out. Now you notice that I only spray the areas where the metal on metal contact is going to be, so basically where all the ribs go and where all the stiffeners connect. Those are the only locations that I prime, and I've mentioned that before in the videos. Here I'm actually adjusting the spar. I took I think it's a 3-foot long metal ruler to go along the spar to make sure it's straight, and so I'm using the jack stand to raise it up. So that way when I'm putting on the skins, everything lines up correctly. You want to make sure that you get it all straight as you're clecoing these skins into place, to help minimize any kind of twist or warping of the wing. Obviously, that's a really critical aspect of this build. So I used like I said, used the straight edge there, long straight edge there, to ensure that the spar was straight before I started putting these skins on. Now, as you can see here, I got a little ahead of myself and realized I was a big dummy, and so I had to go through and uncleco as I peeled the bluing off of the skins here. I've talked into it before. The skins, I'm going to be painting this whole airplane, and there are a lot of folks who will just cut out the sections of the bluing where you're going to be riveting and leave the bluing on every other part to kind of protect the skins. My stance is when you go to paint this thing, you're going to be scratching the heck out of it anyway. So I'm not really worried about any of the scratches that will show up on the skins during the build process. Even the frames that I build to hold, say, the leading edge or the fuel tanks, I typically don't put any kind of padding or anything on those because, again, they're going to get scratched up, but you're going to scratch it up anyway when you paint it, so I don't worry too much about it. And then anything that's going to cause a deep enough gouge that would have, that would do any significant amount of damage to where it would show up in the paint, it would do that with the bluing on it or not. That's kind of my own philosophy. So I just go ahead and get rid of it all. That way I'm not peeling off lots of little pieces later. It doesn't really make a difference in the build process as far as I could tell. So I got everything put onto the frame. Now I'm starting to rivet the skins into place, and for the most part these are just the 426 3-3.5s if I recall correctly. Along the spar, the rear spar and the main spar, I think that those are some longer ones if I recall correctly, but I could be wrong. So this first rib, this is rib number 13. There's 14 ribs altogether. I've got the outer rib removed. I'm working on this number 13 rib. I can reach it just fine, but now, as you see, my wife, I finally recruited her to do some work with me on the airplane. It's taken a year, but I've managed to get my wife to help me with the build at some point. So this is awesome. Obviously, I can't reach both sides of the wings to be able to do the bucking, so got my wife to help me put these skins together. And I'm just working from the row of rivets where the J-stiffeners will go in the middle of the rib, and just working out to both ends of each rib. And now working on the riveting the skins to the rear spar. Again, these are easy rivets to get access to. I can reach both sides, so able to get that completed there. Not too bad. Anyway, I'm going to let this video run out here. In the future videos, I'll be finishing the rest of the attachment points, and I think I even got the electrical on video. We'll see. So again, thanks for watching these videos. If you get a chance, hit that like button for me. It'll help me out. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and hit that alarm bell, and you'll get a notification every time I put one of these videos out. We'll see you next time.